Hey guys, welcome to my channel and welcome to another video. And today we're gonna look at another review. This time it's gonna be this Flower Moon palette from Ensley Reign Cosmetics. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's absolutely beautiful palette. It's like very rainbowy, sparkly, very like spring to summer color story. I'm gonna show you swatches and everything with this palette. I really like this palette. It's very cute. I like that it's mostly shimmer palette because I really wanted shimmers in some more shimmers in my collection. So I'm very happy, and these are all the colors that I use all the time. So like pinks, greens, obviously blues, purples. So I'm very happy. When I was buying it, or when I was like researching about this palette, it seemed to have like half of the shimmers to be like classical shimmers, the other half to be like multi-chromes, duochromes, and then there's one row of mattes. The shimmers, and especially like the multi-chromes, duochromes, they don't really show the shift as well as you might want. It's kind of hard to imagine what it's gonna look like on your eyes because in the pan it's kind of, it looks a little bit different, and you don't always see all the shifts. I feel like the most prominent shifts are with this shade, which is kind of like the shade Bloom, which is kind of like pink to like really light gold color. Then you have the shade Flower Moon, that's like pink to purple, or like lavender to also blue. That one's very pretty. Then the shade Sprout, I feel like it has like kind of like rusty orangey red base, but on the eyes when you put it on, it kind of has this like really sparkly blue, like cold blue sparkle with a little bit of periwinkle and like purple color. And then the shade Sapling, I really don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's like a really light minty green in the pan, and when you kind of move around, it kind of has this like icy blue shift to it. So those are the most like prominent shifts here. Also the shade freesia, I'm not really, I have to look up how this is pronounced. But that one is like, it looks kind of like peachy pink in the palette, but it also goes to like very orangey gold, almost like yellowy color when you shift it. And yeah, those are the most like prominent shifts here that I've noticed. I feel like the more chunkier the shimmer looks like, the more shifts you're gonna see. There are some shimmers that are more like smoother and more like, you don't really see texture in them, and those are more like shimmer formula. And the ones that are like a little bit more chunky and also a little bit more oily, those are very like sparkly and shifty. So I really like the shimmers. I think they look absolutely beautiful. They're just stunning. I love all of them. I've tried all of them. For the mattes, I didn't try all the mattes because the shade Lush, Meadow and Budding are like the exact same shade. They look the same in the palette and they look the same when I swatch them. I used the shade Budding and I also used the shade Lush in one of the looks. I didn't use the shade Meadow because they just look the same. I don't know what happened there, but and when I was looking up the swatches and like the inside of this palette on their website, it looked like different shades. They were very similar, but they look like they have a little bit of a different tone. But when I was watching them, they all look the same. I feel like the Lush shade might be slightly more like brighter than the other two. The other two are a little bit more muddy, I guess, but it's such a small, subtle difference that I don't know if you're gonna be able to even capture that on the eyes. And the other two shades are very similar, Peony and Mayflowers, these two pinky ones. Peony is a little bit more peachy, but it's still like, it's not enough of a difference to be able to see it on the eye, I feel like. So you pretty much have green, orange, pink, and like this deeper, like kind of dusty shade called Renew. So I honestly wouldn't mind if this palette was all shimmers and duochromes and multichromes, or if they kind of switched some of the shades in the matte section and just like also put something maybe darker a little bit. I know that this is like mid-tone to light palette, but I would wish there would be something a little bit darker, or at least some more colors, because you pretty much only have 3 colors and then one like deepening shade in this palette, so that's a little bit bummer. I will still use all the green shades because I mostly use greens when I do my eye looks, and since this is kind of like the mid-tone green, it's gonna go on the biggest part of my eye, or like the biggest surface area, because I usually use something like this on my entire crease, then a little bit darker in my outer corner and a little bit lighter in my inner corner, or like the inner part of the crease. So I will get enough uses of these, but it's just, I wouldn't mind if they would be switched with something else. Also, you have mirror here, which is really big. I like that the palette, even though it's like pretty big, or like, I guess if you take into account how many shades you have, it's not that big of a palette, but I like that it's small. It's really like slim, small, doesn't weigh anything, like it's a very lightweight palette, which I like because it's easier to carry, it's easier to like store it, and I really like the layout of these shades. That's kind of like you have similar color stories next to each other, so you have like pinks together, purples together, greens together. I like that, and I like that you can also kind of like try to do different like columns if you want. I think those would be also really fun. Like these two would be fun because this shade goes a little bit more bluer on the eye, so it would be really fun with those. These two would look amazing because this actually has like blue sheen to it, so they would look amazing. This would be very fun color story, like the purple or like the lavender with the green. The same for this, obviously. These like the goldy peachy color with the greeny gold color. So you can go like this, or you can like stay within the same family. It really doesn't matter. And I like that it's very like easy to use palette. You can come up with a lot of ideas with this. This is the last look that I created with this palette, and I will also like walk you through it once we're done with the review. And in total I've created 6 looks with this palette. I used all the shimmers and I used almost all the mattes. I haven't used the shade Meadow because there's no point, it's the same, or at least in my opinion, to my eye, it's the same, so I don't need to use it. One thing I would say about this palette as well, the pans aren't really, they're secure in the palette, but they are kind of wobbly if you're trying to pick up the shades, so some of these are kind of like looser in the palette, like the pans are kind of not as properly attached. I have glue here so I can like reattach it if I need to, but just to let you know, it's a little bit wobbly for me at least. Maybe you're not gonna have the same problem, but the shimmers are amazing. They're beautiful. I love the way they look. They're so sparkly, as you can see, and I really loved all the looks that I created with this. I'm definitely gonna play with it a lot more. You will see it on my Instagram in the like short version, in the reels and stuff like that, so I will definitely show you a lot more looks with these. I will probably use it with my other palettes to get like the matte shades from, because I don't know if I'm gonna use a lot of, if I'm gonna get a lot of uses out of the matte shades here. They're pretty, but I'm still gonna need something to like deepen these up with, because I don't really do those like one wash of color type of looks, you know, that you put like one matte and one shimmer on the lid. So for me, I need more mattes, and this color isn't really dark enough for me. Like, this is still mid-tone. You can build it up a little bit, but it's still not dark enough for me to be outer corner shade. So that's for this palette. I love the packaging. This is such a cute, fun packaging. I love nature and like flowers and forests and everything, so this is beautiful in my opinion. I also wanted to get the winter palette. I don't really know how it's called, but they had like winter palette. I really wanted that one, but for me it was too expensive, and at the time where I had different things that I was spending my money on, so, and I didn't want it to spend so much money on a brand that I don't know. But first of all, this is exactly my color story. This is the shades that I wear the most of, and this was a little bit cheaper than the other palette, so, but I think I'm gonna buy the other palette as well eventually, because I've seen a lot of people use it and I love the looks with it, so I might actually get this one a little sister or big sister, I don't know. But yeah, I want to buy the other one as well. So this is the review. I will show you the other looks that I've created with this palette, and I will do like a proper review at the end of the month where I kind of talk about everything that I've tried that month, just so that I'm sure that I've used it a little bit more than just for this initial review, because as I said, I used all the shades once. I think there's 2 shades that I used twice, but otherwise I use all of them only once, so I definitely want to try it out a little bit more to make sure that I am sure of my review. But so far it's absolutely wonderful, and I love it, love it, love it. It's so cute, and I just love these colors. They're my favorite, so definitely would recommend so far. So that's it for me. I'm gonna list all the things that I've used, or all the products that I've used in each look, so you will find it down in the description, and hopefully you will like these looks. As I said, it's gonna be 5 different looks. The second look that you're gonna see, I'm gonna have different hair, because that was my first day using this palette, and then I've changed the hair color, so just to clear it out. And I think that's all I wanted to say. So I hope you're gonna enjoy the video, and I will be happy to see you in the next video. So bye for now. Hey guys, so we're gonna do the last look with this palette, and I'm gonna go for these 3 blue shades here in the corner. And for my base, for the matte shadows, I'm gonna use this Legend of Korra palette from Colourpop, and I'm gonna use these 2 blue shades, like this dark blue and this light blue. So let me just prepare the crease, and then we'll go for the Flower Moon palette. Okay, so now that the crease is done, I've just used the 2 shades that I showed you. I'm gonna use this NYX glitter primer, because that's what I always use for my shimmer and like duochrome, multichrome shadows. And I really love this primer. I feel like it really helps to make it last as long as possible, because obviously, like, especially if you have hooded eyes like me, and if you have oily eyelids, shimmer shadows, and especially like multichromes and duochromes, which tend to be like a little bit more emollient or like a little bit more oily, these tend to like, these doesn't tend to last very long on me, so I just want to make sure that I'm gonna help them as much as I can, because I want to wear them the whole day and I don't want to have any like creasing happening or anything like that. These shadows don't really crease much, at least from what I've tried, so hopefully the blues won't act differently, but I didn't have any problem with the rest. So I'm gonna start with this beautiful blue shade that's called April Showers, and I'm gonna focus that on the main part of the lid. So let me just pack a little bit on. This is a very pretty shade. It kind of reminds me of the single shadow that I've bought from Terra Moons, which is like, I think it's in the shade Star Sign, and it's also kind of like, it looks very blue in the pan, but then it looks kind of more like purpley on the eyelid. So this is kind of something similar, at least with these shades. Maybe it looks different with other shades, but yeah, when I'm moving I can see like the reflection of the blue color in it, and it goes on very smoothly. This palette has like two textures of the shimmer shadows. Some are like more like normal shimmers, you know, they're just regular shimmers, and some are like really emollient, really like stickier, oilier, and they have a little bit more of like a bigger particles in them. So those are the multichromes. I like the shades in here and I love the way that they perform. I wish they were a little bit more duochromy. I feel like there's not, I can see the shifts when I like move the palette and when I swatch it, but on my eyes I can't see a lot. So I wish they were a little bit more, but they're beautiful, and as you can see, like the sparkle that you get is just amazing. I really love how sparkly this is. I think it looks just absolutely stunning. Then I'm gonna use the shade Dahlia, which is this like darkest. It's duochrome, it goes from purple to dark blue. I love these shadows, and it's the darkest shimmer shade here. So I'm gonna pick it up on the same brush and put it in the second half of the lid, kind of blend it with the deep matte shade. But yeah, this is very pretty, and I feel like the lid looks a lot more purple than it looks in the pan, so I guess it depends with what you pair it with. I guess it depends what you pair it with, and that will kind of determine how the shift's gonna change. But yeah, they're really nice. I love the shimmers here. I'm not so impressed with the mattes, but I love the shimmers. Those are really nice, and I mean, I bought it for the shimmers, so it's not that much of an issue. And now I'm gonna use smaller brush, and on my lower lash line I'm gonna use the shade, this shade, which is called Persephone. I'm not really sure how to pronounce this. English is not my first language, so I'm not really sure, but I'm gonna pack it on a small brush, like small pencil brush, and I'm gonna put that on my lower lash line. And that's very pretty. In the pen it looks like pinky purple, and on my eyes it looks like icy blue, kind of like the way that I expected the April Showers to look like. So this is really pretty. I really like it. It's kind of strange that you never know what you're gonna get, because in the pan it looks so different than on the eyes. I like the fact that it's like fun and, you know, unexpected. I like it, but I don't know if other people would necessarily like it too much, because when I was kind of trying to see all the shifts in this palette, I feel like the shifts that I was able to capture don't really translate on the eyes. You kind of get something a little bit different. Not that that is a bad thing, but it's just kind of, it's surprising. But I love the palette. It's so pretty. And to finish it off, I'm gonna use this single shade from Colourpop. This is the Super Shock Shadow in the shade Ice Dream, because it's like white inner corner highlight with like a little bit of blue sparkles. So I feel like that would look really nice with this look, and this shade is new to me and I wanna use it, so it's kind of like 2 hauls in one. And I think this is really pretty. It looks very similar to the shade that I have on my lower lash line. It's just a little bit more icy and a little bit more like white. And now that I'm looking at the lid shimmers, I feel like this eye looks a lot more purple and this looks a lot more blue. So I really like that you can see the shift like that. But you have to be in a very special lighting situation, otherwise you're not really gonna be able to see it. But yeah, this is very pretty. Okay, so this is the finished look. I just put on a lash, eye pencil and a couple other things. So I used these lashes from She Glam. Then I used the waterline pencil from She. It's the khol Kajal pencil. Then I used the Wet n Wild Mega Length mascara for my lower lashes. And I used the Berry M blush and this highlighter from She Glam. So this is the whole look. I'm gonna link everything down below in case you're interested. I'm also gonna show you a little bit of a close-up so that you can see how it looks like. And maybe if there's some kind of, I feel like you can, I don't know if you can see, but I can see that in the reflection in the mirror it looks a lot more like pinky purple, and on my eyes it looks like more bluer. Maybe this way. I hope you can see it. It's like a little bit more purple than on my eyes. So this is the finished look with the Flower Moon palette from Ensley Reign. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Now you can watch the rest of the looks, the other 5 looks that I've created with this palette, and I hope you're gonna like it. And yeah, let's jump right into that. Okay, so for the second look, I started with the shade Peony, which is like this peachy, pinky color, and I used it on my lid, in my crease. Then I went in with the shade Renew to deepen it up in the outer corner. Then for my shimmer shades, I used the shade Pink Moon on the main part of the lid. It's kind of like reddish pink with like gold and peach in it. It's a very beautiful shade. And then I used the shade freesia I have no clue how to pronounce this name, but it's like pink to peachy orange to gold. And then I went in with the shade Bloom, which is the lightest shade of the palette. It's like yellowy gold with orange. And then I went in with a mascara from Rimmel. It's a Thrill Seeker. Then for the third look, I started with the shade Renew, and then I used the shade Mayflowers in the first half of my crease. Then I used the shade Sprout on my second half of my lid. Then I used the shade Flower Moon on the main part of my lid, and the shade Freesia on my inner corner and a little bit of a lower lash line. It's a very beautiful shade. I love these colors together. The shade Sprout looks a lot more icy blue on the eyes than it looks purple, and the shade Flower Moon really reminds me of the shade Parasect from Little Cosmetics. Then I went in with the Thrill Seeker mascara again. I used the Berry M blush again. Then Colourpop gel liner in the shade Amethyst Hour, and She Glam Chromazone highlighter in the shade Lucid because it has kind of like pinky purpley undertone to it. So that's the third look. Then for the fourth look, I wanted to do this liner kind of look and use the green shade. So I used the shade Renew for my wing and Budding for the crease shade, or the shade that I mapped out the shape. And then for the shimmers, I used the shade Sapling, Awakening, and Bliss. So Bliss is kind of like goldy green, Awakening is a little bit more like cooler, deeper green, and Sapling is kind of like light minty green, and it has blue sparkle or sheen in it. So I used that one in the inner corner, and I really love these greens. They're beautiful. I can't wait to wear them again because they're so pretty, and I love them so much. And to finish it off, I used the mascara from Wet n Wild. It's the Megaland. Then a pencil from Trended Up. It's like a sparkly green. And now for the fifth look, I wanted to play with the oranges and golds in this palette. So I started with the shade Rejuvenate, which is the orange color, and then I went in with the brown shade from the Oden's Eye Forest palette, and then the dark brown shade from Oden's Eyes Hummingbird palette. I used the shade Red Hills and Star Apple. Then I went in with the shade Refresh on the main part of my lid, and then I used the shade Bloom in my inner corner. That's kind of this very yellowy gold highlighter that also shifts a little bit of pink. To complete this look, I used the Thrill Seeker mascara and the Megaland mascara from Wet n Wild. Then I used the She Glam Solar Flare highlighter, liquid highlighter, and Revolution Fast Base blush. And then for the last look of this video, I wanted to play with the rest of the greens that I didn't try. So I started with the shade Lush. Then I used the Oden's Eye Giant Wolves palette, and I used the shade Desolate and Annihilation to just kind of help myself. And then for the shimmers, I used the Forsythia. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Then I also used the shade Primrose, which is a very goldy green. It's almost it's such a yellowy green color. And then for my inner corner, I used the shade Awakening again because I wanted to see if it's gonna look a little bit more warmer. So this is the finished look. I just used the same mascaras as before, then one of the liners from Trended Up, and that's all that I have on. So I really like this look. I think it's very fun, and yeah, this is the finished video. This is all for this video. I hope you liked all the looks. I'm definitely gonna post a lot more eventually. Honestly, I loved all the looks, and I love the shimmers and how sparkly and mud looking they are. and I hope I'm gonna have a lot more fun with them in the future. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have a great day, and I will definitely see you soon. So bye.